Hello, my name is Bob Fontana, and I'm a professor of internal medicine at the University of Michigan in the United States. And on behalf of the CHIAMS DILI Working Group, I'd like to welcome you to our Lesson 5 podcast on liver injury attributed to herbal and dietary supplements. In this podcast, we hope to review with you how to evaluate individual clinical safety reports of herbal and dietary supplements that incorporate specific information that are unique to these products. So by way of background, HDS products are used more frequently than medications around the world. And the reason is that there's a perception that if a product is marketed as natural, that it must be safer than a synthesized pharmaceutical product, and that therefore more must be better, similar to food and calories. We know that there's a proliferation of these products on the market. There's greater than 80,000 in the United States alone in 2014, and the total market capital of this area of business is greater than $10 billion annually in the United States. The problem here is that the manufacturing of these products are not regulated to a large extent, nor is there any preclinical or human testing before they're released for general use. And therefore, it's not surprising that there's mislabeling of ingredients that's been detected in at least 50% of the products that we've tested in one study. And in the US, as well as worldwide, there's been a rising incidence of idiosyncratic HDS hepatotoxicity, as shown here in the Dillon study, where it went from 7% in 2004 and 2005 up to 20% in 2014. And similar phenomena have already been experienced in other Asian countries. So what are risk factors for HDS-induced liver injury? Well, we believe that administration of multiple products may be a risk factor, although this is not robust. Established. Furthermore, there is data that products that come from an authorized source, such as governmental dispensaries in Taiwan, are safer than those that come from unauthorized dispensaries and sources. Furthermore, there's likely batch or lot effects due to the growing condition of the cultivars. There are some retrospective data that having underlying liver disease may be a risk factor, but it's difficult in the studies thus far to exclude flare of the underlying liver disease versus HDS hepatotoxicity itself. But interestingly, in the last several years, collecting DNA samples from bona fide HDS cases, we've learned that host genetics may give us a clue as to real risk factors. So recently, green tea extract which causes an acute hepatocellular injury was studied in Caucasians in the US. And HLA-B3501 was significantly associated with cases versus controls with an odds ratio of 7. And interestingly, the same HLA locus was associated with polygonal multiforming hepatotoxicity, which is commonly used in China amongst Han Chinese with an odds ratio of 78. Now, how can we improve detection and management of HDS-induced liver injury? Well, first, you must have a high index of suspicion that the HDS product could actually be causing the liver injury that you're reviewing. And this can be difficult because these products are ubiquitous in our cultures. They're available in retail stores. Individuals can buy them on the internet and other sources. And in addition, when they present for medical evaluation, for example, in clinical trials or clinical practice, they may not report them to their providers because they don't consider them themselves a drug. They consider it an over-the-counter product or food supplement. In addition, there could certainly be a component of shame or hesitancy to report use of unconventional medications or products, I should say, to their conventional providers. The good news is that liver tox is growing with the chapters and the knowledge of what's been published on HDS hepatotoxicity. So the phenotypes of liver injury are being better worked out. There's currently 60 chapters already that you can access from this website maintained by the NIH and the National Library of Medicine through PubMed at no cost. Now, another issue here is multi-ingredient nutritional supplements. There's many of these touted for weight loss and general energy. But the problem with these is they're frequently changing their ingredients over time, so it can be very difficult to determine what may be causing liver injury. And in addition, as I mentioned, we've shown that the product labels may be misleading or frankly inaccurate. So therefore, I think we generally need more regulatory oversight. Now, causality assessment of an individual case can be quite challenging. There have been two published ways of assessing causality that's liver specific. There's the RootCam score that was modified to account for HDS products in 2016, and the RootCam score gives you a score, ordinal score from -9 to +14. You can see the level of likelihood based upon the net score. And then there's the expert opinion adjudication promulgated by Dillon with a definite score being greater than 95% likelihood and an unlikely case being less than 25%. Based upon expert opinion. There is discussion if you can get reliable HDS product analysis, whether this may add to expert opinion, but that is to be determined. So what do we do to prevent this in that and manage it once we encounter it? Well, primary prevention is really the most important way to get on top of this problem. HDS product registration and verification, I think, would be the first steps of what the ingredients are with regulatory agencies, so we can track these cases more in a more scientific and objective manner. In addition, more preclinical lab testing of these products, as well as safety testing in humans before they're widely distributed, would be worthwhile. I think the product labels, again, should be under regulatory scrutiny to reflect the hazards of ingestion and what is known about the safety testing and or efficacy for the touted health benefit. And then in general, public awareness campaigns are really needed here, because it's very confusing to consumers and the general population that if something I can buy in the supermarket, it must be safe, just like the vegetables and other food products that they buy. So it's very confusing, I think, to the individual consumer with the way that these are widely available everywhere. Now, when you encounter a case of HDS hepatotoxicity, most patients will recover, and it's really supportive care. There's no disease-specific intervention. However, if you get to the point of acute liver failure, there was one randomized controlled trial showing that IV NAC for 72 hours was better than placebo in non-acetaminophen acute liver failure, including idiosyncratic DILI cases where you can see there was a marked improvement in survival. So that's something to consider in the sickest of the sick patients with acute liver failure. Also, if you have HDS-induced liver failure, overall survival, though, is not all that encouraging, and liver transplantation may be in the mix. So to summarize, HDS hepatotoxicity is increasing in both Western and Eastern countries due to their widespread use and availability and their perception that they must be safe and natural remedies. However, as we've reviewed here, clinically significant liver injury is on the uptick both in Eastern and Western countries, and it's important to be aware of this as you're adjudicating individual DILI cases. How do you adjudicate the case is very challenging. Again, I briefly mentioned to you the RUCAM instrument and the expert opinion scale. I would strongly recommend that you look at liver tox and other electronic dictionaries of what's been published and categorized to compare your case to what's been published. And then I think the field is moving towards more and more chemical analysis of these individual products to determine if there may be an identifiable specific hepatotoxicant. And fundamentally, greater regulatory oversight in this area is needed worldwide. So with that, I'd like to thank you for all of your efforts in the drug safety monitoring that you all do as we all try to make medicines and herbals safer for patients. Thank you.